Hey viewers and friends, Andrew back again and welcome to another video, and I'm back at you with another top 10 list. Today it is not horror related. We're going to be talking about my top 10 Australian films. Something that I've been wanting to do for a while and hopefully you guys find it kind of interesting. So these aren't really in any particular order, and I've got to say that the lack of the more sort of popular and well-known Australian movies from my collection is kind of sad. There's still quite a few Australian movies that I don't own. For example, the Crocodile Dundee movies I do not own. I've seen them so many times before that I just really don't feel the need to check them out. But and there's probably a few other pretty popular ones that I'm missing as well. But I do own quite a few Aussie movies, and there's some absolutely fantastic ones out there. So hopefully, for you guys overseas that aren't too familiar with Australian cinema, hopefully this video gives you some recommendations to check out. So these aren't really in any particular order except for my top three, so I'm going to get straight into it. And to start things off, we have Tomorrow When the War Began. The easiest way to compare this movie is it's the Australian equivalent to Red Dawn. I think it's far superior to Red Dawn though. This one centres around a group of 8 teenagers. They go away for a weekend, and while they're away in the wilderness, their small Australian town gets attacked by overseas soldiers. They return, they find out, and basically they spend the rest of the movie hiding out and planning small attacks to try and stop the invaders. So I thought it was really, really well done. It has a pretty solid cast of young Aussies in it, and if you're a fan of Red Dawn or movies similar to that and you've never seen Tomorrow When the War Began, I highly, highly recommend it. This one had a pretty quiet release actually, so definitely if you've never seen it, check it out. The next one we have here is Snowtown, and this one is based off a couple of true life serial killers, Robert Wagner and John Bunting, I believe. This one is actually really, really good and pretty faithful to the real case actually. If anyone out there is familiar with the Snowtown murders or the bodies in the barrel, this is the movie that's based on that. Extremely well done considering there's pretty much a full cast of unknowns. Everyone does a really, really good job in this movie. It's very harsh, it's very brutal and extremely hard to watch in parts, but absolutely fantastically done. So if you're a serial killer fan and you've never seen Snowtown, check it out. The next one is Two Hands with Heath Ledger. This was one of Heath Ledger's earlier films in the 90s when he was just starting out his acting career, and he was absolutely fantastic in this movie. This is probably the best Australian movie if you're wanting to see a pretty accurate description of 90s Sydney culture. Extremely, extremely well done. This one centres around Heath Ledger's character. He's the main character. He sort of works for not really the mob, but like a group of criminals basically. He has to deliver some money to someone. They're not home. Across the road is Bondi Beach, so he heads over there, buries the money in the sand and goes for a swim. 2 street kids come along, they see what he's up to and they flog the money. So the remaining of the film is basically the intertwining story between the 2 street kids with the money and Heath Ledger's character trying to get the money back. Really, really well done, and as the movie progresses, the 2 sort of storylines intertwine even more. So that's Two Hands. Love it. Next up we have Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. This is probably one of the more known films in this top 10 list, and this one is a 90s classic. Extremely well done. This came out around the time where homophobia was still fairly rife. But yeah, it definitely brought a lot of attention, and I definitely think it helped a lot of gay rights when this movie came out. This one centres around 3 drag queens touring Australia, and it's just so well done. It's bright, it's colourful, it's over the top. Yeah, just absolutely fantastic. I would consider this an Australian road movie, and it shows off the country pretty well, the culture pretty well. So definitely recommend this one, obviously. The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. And I absolutely love the cover art on that. Next up we have Rabbit Proof Fence. This movie does not get enough recognition in my opinion. Absolutely fantastic. This one's set in the early 30s when white people would remove Aboriginal children from their families to raise them in a white community or society. Absolutely fucking disgusting. I do not condone that behaviour at all. I thought it was absolutely terrible and just utterly wrong. But unfortunately that happened, and they're known as the Stolen Generation. But this movie, I think, covers the theme exceptionally well. It centres around 3 young girls, the main one, Molly. They all get taken away from their family. They get sent to like a sort of reform camp, I guess. They end up running away, and they follow a rabbit-proof fence all the way home. They have to trek for miles, and there's some absolutely amazing cinematography in this one. It definitely shows off the outback Australian wilderness very, very well. So if you're looking for a movie that really shows off Australia, I highly recommend Rabbit Proof Fence. Absolutely fantastic movie, and I really wish that this would get a Blu-ray release. I'm kind of surprised that it hasn't. Next up we have a classic from the 70s, Storm Boy. This is a really, really good movie. Not really a hell of a lot to say about it. It is about the relationship between a small boy living on the coastline in southern Australia or South Australia and his relationship with a pelican called Mr. Percival. It is kind of slow, but I think it's really, really well done. Pretty interesting story between the young boy and the pelican. So that is Storm Boy. Next up we have The Horseman. This is an absolutely fantastic revenge movie. So if you're into revenge flicks, this is definitely one of the better ones that I've seen, especially in terms of realism. The violence and brutality in this movie is very, very realistic, and I thought this was absolutely awesome, hence why it's in my top 10 list. This one centres around a father whose daughter got involved with a pornography ring. She ended up getting drugged and died. He finds out about this and basically seeks his revenge on everyone that was involved with the pornography group. So not really a hell of a lot more to say about that, but yeah, this is absolutely fantastic for a revenge film. So that's The Horseman. Alright, now we're on to my top 3. I definitely know 2 of these are going to be fairly popular with a lot of you guys. So sitting at number 3 goes to Wolf Creek. This is my all-time favourite Australian horror film, and like Snowtown, this is based off a serial killer called Ivan Milat, or the Backpacker Murderer. It's more loosely based than Snowtown is, but still it is absolutely fantastic for a serial killer film. John Jarratt plays the main character, and he is creepy as hell in this one. I don't think I've ever seen anyone with a creepier laugh than his before. Very, very chilling. But yeah, just an absolutely fantastic movie about a group of 3 people. Their car breaks down at a national park, and they supposedly get rescued by the Mick character, John Jarratt, and basically he's a serial killer. They don't know it, and they've got to try and survive. So really, really well done. And Wolf Creek 2 is coming out on the 20th of February, so I cannot wait for that. I actually watched a trailer of that last night, and it looks pretty full on, so really looking forward to Wolf Creek 2. I'm sure most of you have seen this, but if you're looking for a really, really good Australian horror movie, check out Wolf Creek. Sitting at number 2 goes to The Road Warrior or Mad Max 2. Awesome post-apocalyptic movie. I really don't need to talk too much about it because most of you have probably seen it. Out of the series, this is definitely my favourite. I do prefer it over Part 1, and I definitely prefer it over Beyond the Thunderdome. Beyond the Thunderdome's good, but yeah, Mad Max 2 or The Road Warrior is absolutely fantastic. This has got a pretty good Australian outback setting as well, and it's just such a good action post-apocalyptic film, so that's that. Alright, so what can be my all-time favourite Australian movie? Well, that goes to none other than an amazing 80s movie, The BMX Bandits. I was actually really late to the party watching this. This was a movie that, ashamedly, I never grew up on. And I think it was about probably about 3 years ago that I first saw this movie. And it immediately jumped up into my top spot. I absolutely love BMX Bandits. This is pure 80s goodness at its best, in my opinion. This is pretty much the Australian equivalent to the Goonies. Very similar plot, very similar characters. This one centres around 3 teenage BMX enthusiasts. They end up coming across some stolen walkie-talkies, and basically they have to try and outsmart the criminals that are after them to try and get the walkie-talkies back. It's just so fun, you know, there's a lot of crazy moments throughout, a lot of pretty hilarious moments as well. So if you are a fan of 80s family movies and you've never seen BMX Bandits, do yourself a favour and check it out, because in my opinion it is the best Australian film. Alright. Okay guys, so that has been my top 10 Australian films. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Like I said at the start, I definitely hope it's given some of my overseas viewers a few recommendations, and obviously I highly recommend each and every one of those movies. If you've seen any of them, please let me know what you think of them in the comments section below. Also, for my overseas viewers, please let me know some of your favourite Australian movies in the comment section below as well. Definitely keen to hear those. Anyway guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video, and thanks a lot for watching.